Hi guys, welcome to Crazy Burger. In this video we're going to be looking at Evercade's Tomb Raider Collection 1 on the Super Pocket. Is it worth buying for the Super Pocket? Let's find out. Okay guys, so we are going to be looking at Tomb Raider Collection 1 on the Super Pocket. This is Evercade Collection number 40 from the red console label, and it's all three of the original PlayStation games on Evercade. Obviously we're going to be testing them out on the Super Pocket. Are they playable? Are there any issues that are going to arise? Now, I'm not going to go in full detail to all three of the games. You want to see some more detail of all the games, I'll leave a link in the description playing these on the Evercade VS. We're primarily looking at issues, any problems that might arise. Obviously, slightly different D-pad buttons, and obviously the shoulder buttons are on the back of the device, so it does make things a little bit trickier. Obviously, without further ado, we'll have a quick look at some of the buttons that are used. We'll have a quick look at the controls. They are broke down here by Tomb Raider 1, 2 and 3. There's a few differences. Obviously we're looking at the shoulder buttons. L1 and R1 are used for walking, hold down to look around, that type of thing. L2 for sidestep, and R2 for sidestep. So that's Tomb Raider 1. No massive issues. You're not going to use them like extensively like you probably would do like the jump button or obviously the D-pad. On Tomb Raider 2 there's a few differences there. I think you can hold down the L1, you can light or throw a flare. As you can see here, the sidestep and hold to walk and look around as the same. There is a little bit difference for Tomb Raider 3 where I think R2 or L2, no wait a minute, L1 if you hold down you can crouch and crawl. Yeah, and R2 is for sprint. So we're going to have a look at that. See, is it going to be cumbersome to play on the Super Pocket? Will it cause any issues? Obviously you're not going to be using these buttons extensively like you would do like the action button and the shoot, the roll around, that type of thing. So it probably won't be a massive issue, but let's have a look at it nonetheless. Okay, so first up we'll start with the original Tomb Raider. Personally this is my favourite of the three games. I think it just was best of the bunch. Now the first thing you'll probably notice is loading times are so much faster on the Super Pocket. Now I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think it's just they've got some more checks, perhaps security checks on the VS and EXP, and it just takes maybe 30 to 40 seconds longer to actually load in the game. That's also that's mainly for the PlayStation 1 games. Not sure why they don't have those checks on the Super Pocket, but anyway, it's totally welcome. You just dive straight into the game. Now another thing obviously I need to highlight is you're going to be saving quite a lot on Tomb Raider, probably using the save states. You can use the in-game saves as well, but as you can probably see here, it's hard to tell which of your saves are the current ones. Hopefully this could be updated at some point. It would be good to get a timestamp on these save slots, because you've only got slot 1, slot 2, so you're going to have to remember what your most recent save is. I think by looking at this, you might know, you might not know, but having those timestamps would be massively helpful. We see those on the Evercade VS and the Evercade EXP. And maybe that will happen in future. I know they try to keep it very simple for the Super Pockets, and they do, but it would be quite helpful, I think, to see that on future updates perhaps. Okay, so obviously you've got your options. You can have pixel perfect, full screen. I think it's probably best to leave as pixel perfect, and I've noticed when playing it, there's probably not as noticeable tearing in the polygons that you might see when you're blown up to the full screen, for example on the EXP, or maybe playing it on the VS, sorry, on a large TV. You'll see maybe slightly more breaks in the graphics, so it seems a little bit better on this handheld. It still looks fantastic, it does look great as well. I'll turn up the sound a little bit. Personally, I think the sound's a lot better on the Super Pockets. You can hear the gunfire is a lot louder. Sometimes I've definitely had some issues with my EXP sound. But anyway, let's have a quick run through. Obviously the D-pad and the buttons are a lot tighter together, and I think you are definitely going to be playing this more than 5 to 10 minutes. You'll be playing this probably 30 minutes, an hour. So the controls are fine, but they do feel a bit tight at times. By feeling tight, they are quite close together. But button wise, everything's absolutely fine. Jump button, roll button. Obviously you can obviously withdraw your weapons, draw them, and fire is absolutely fine. But you've got your sidestep buttons by pressing obviously the R2 and L2 buttons at the back here. They're not too bad. I don't think you're going to be pressing these an awful lot. Not in full action gameplay. That, for example, you're not going to be suddenly sidestepping. This is only when you're on platforms, I guess. Now hold down the other, the L1 button. That is used for looking at the camera. Now that is a little bit cumbersome to get to. It's not the best, to be honest, but again, it's not going to be something you're going to be doing all the time. It's only going to be something you're doing when you're stopped and having a look around what's actually there. And the other one is obviously holding down the R1 button for taking small footsteps back and forth. You will be pressing that quite a lot. It is okay to get to, but again, using those buttons are a little bit cumbersome, so you're going to have to bear that in mind. It's not the best, but for the best part, I think the D-pad seems absolutely fine. I didn't notice any massive issues while running around and jumping and that type of thing, so it seems fine. I just think ideally it's better on the EXP. There's no doubt the EXP and the buttons on the VS are much better. But yeah, for everything else, combat wise, seems absolutely fine to me. This guy just keeps showing up all the time throughout the game, then magically disappearing, which is absolutely bizarre. But just keep firing at him, he will eventually die. Probably. And then you can get his absolutely lovely Magnum guns, which are brilliant. Oh. So you pick up the Magnum and the key and everything else that you need here, and then move on. This is, I don't know, maybe about 3/4 through the game. I've already put maybe something like 8 hours or so, 8 to 10 hours into the game, probably a lot longer with the amount of deaths I've had. There's a lot of gameplay in this game. It is obviously the first game, and altogether it's a great, it's an absolutely fantastic value for money. I know it's obviously you've got your remasters out there as well, but yeah, you can change your buttons by pressing the select button. Let's get those Magnum out. This will probably be a lot easier to kill this guy. This is probably the best way of defeating this guy, just jump back and forth. Otherwise you're going to get hit with these magical ball blasting things, and that's that complete. Now let's have a look at Tomb Raider 2. Before I jump onto that, obviously you can utilise the dive, a few other different things, but it is still awkward to do. But hold down that R1 button and jump, and you can dive into the water as such, which is good fun. Absolutely pointless, but it does add a nice touch throughout the game. You can do handstands as well by a similar technique, I guess, but you want to find out yourself. It's all about using those shoulder buttons at the right time. I have to be honest, playing through this game, I definitely forgot about a lot of the levels that were within the game, like obviously the Phoenix Head here. There's lots of touches that it's probably been a long time since I've played through these games. And then once I discovered them again, I thought, oh, I remember that. It's obviously way back in the back of my mind, I've just totally forgot about it, but pretty cool nonetheless. I remember playing this at the time and being absolutely blown away by how cool it was. But yeah, you will do a lot of exploration, and you'll probably get lost and probably even get stuck. So don't be afraid to look up walkthroughs online. There are absolutely tons of them. There are videos out there as well that will help you in your progress through this game. And don't be scared, because you will probably get stuck and forget what to do. So I've definitely had to use a few walkthroughs. I've got stuck a few times, not sure what I've missed. This game is pretty large, and I've actually enjoyed playing through this a lot. I think it's really, really cool. Okay, so this is Tomb Raider 2, and obviously graphically it does seem a little bit more polished. They are trying a little bit harder, there's more vehicles or that type of thing in the game. It just seems like they're trying to add a lot more features. Now the differences I think are to do with the shoulder buttons. I think if you hold down the shoulder buttons, there's some differences here and there. I think if I recall, the differences were to do with the flare. If you hold the, I I think it's the L1 button or R2 button. Yeah, the L2 button, you can get a flare. Not massively different, so you're not going to be using that an awful lot. So the shoulder button use is pretty minimal. Obviously you are going to use them, but the main buttons you'll be using are the face buttons and the D-pad, and they feel okay. As I said before, not as good as the EXP or the VS controllers, but they're absolutely fine. Just maybe you'll find yourself getting a little bit cramped through extensive use, especially the fact you'll probably be playing these games for longer than 5 to 10 minutes. Most likely you'll be playing these games for an hour or two, and you might need to take a break now and again because you will get sore fingers and thumbs, no doubt about it. Okay, so moving on to Tomb Raider 3. Now, obviously the big difference here, you can crawl and you can sprint by holding down the, I think it's the R2 button to sprint, and it feels fine, to be honest. There's no massive issues here. It does feel fairly comfortable to use the L2 and R2 buttons rather than the R1 and L1 buttons. Those are a little bit more cumbersome to reach with your fingers. Obviously if you have big hands it might be a little bit more cumbersome for you, but obviously using that sprint button is absolutely fine. I don't see any massive issues there, but don't do things like that. That's just a bit dumb. Okay, the other button to use throughout this game is the L2 button, which you need to crawl. Now I got completely stuck and forgot this was an option until I realised that I could actually crawl. So don't forget to use that, or you will probably be wondering where the heck to go next, which I was. Even though I've played these games before and completed them all, it's been that long that I've completely forgot what to do, which I guess is a little bit embarrassing, but it just shows you I've aged a lot and my memory is not quite the same as it used to be. Now this gameplay is pretty similar to the other two games. There are some differences. Graphically I think they're trying a little bit too hard in some of the other, the Tomb Raider 2 and 3. Added a few sort of touches here and there. And as I said in my original review, sometimes I think there's a little bit more slowdown in Tomb Raider 3. I think they're just trying too hard with all the different aspects and things they're trying to do. But still an impressive game, but I think personally I prefer Tomb Raider 1 out of all three of the games. But still, all really cool games. If you love Tomb Raider, you're going to love playing through these games. Never experienced it before, then why not have a go? You never know, you might really enjoy it. Arguably, this is probably the biggest license that Blaze have managed to get onto Evercade or Super Pockets. And it's certainly more welcome. Hopefully we'll get more similar style games in the future, more bigger licensing, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's certainly a good sign of things to come. Okay guys, so should you buy Tomb Raider Collection 1 for your Super Pocket? I would say absolutely yes. There's no massive issues stopping you from enjoying these titles on the Super Pocket. Just bear in mind you might get some slight hand cramps playing these extensively, because you will probably have to put in hours upon hours of gameplay. Great value for money. But yeah, I'd say there's no massive issues and you should enjoy these games as much as any other Evercade user. Anyway guys, thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.